listening to the myPET podcast, the show for pet lovers of Australia and around the world.
Hi, you're listening to the myPET podcast. I'm Aria, and as always, I'm with our resident vet, Dr. Glenn.
Hello, how are we?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Awesome.
That's so good. Or are you awesome? So we're going to talk about Queensland Itch or Sweet Itch or summer eczema. There's a few names for it. But this is just generalised advice. So for advice specific for your horse, have a chat to your horse's treating vet.
Sounds good.
So it's not just in Queensland. It's not like if you live in the Tweed, your neighbours will have it.
Correct.
So it is all around, but where else is it?
The further, if we're talking about Australia, the further north you go in general, the better the environment for the little midges that causes it. So it's a environmental insect that causes a allergic reaction. The further north you go, the more likely it is. So I've worked in Northern Territory, it's there, top end WA definitely. I mean, it's definitely in New South Wales. I think there's probably some horses that are affected seasonally, which is what it's all about in Victoria.
Yep.
So the further north you go, the more common it is,
Yep.
but it's definitely not inhibited by the Queensland border.
Yes, no.
Yep.
It's not caused by being a Queenslander.
Yep.
So what is it actually? It's caused by a midgie.
Yep, little culicoides midges, which are very, very little midges. So
Okay.
Summer eczema, summer sores. It's they like hot, warm weather.
Can
basically.
you see them?
You can see little like swarms of them.
Are they like little ones you see in like a little cloud?
Yep. Not all the ones you see in clouds are midges, but
No.
yes, but that's what they are.
Yeah.
And more common at sunrise and sunset sort of thing, like
Yeah.
not much in the middle of the day, not much at night. But yes, they are little clouds of midges that bites the horse. It's not the bite that causes the problem. It's a hypersensitivity, true allergic reaction to them. So it doesn't take many, which is frustrating and part of the problem with Queensland Itch is it doesn't take much to keep a allergic, itchy horse self-traumatising and causing troubles.
So it's like some people get really itchy from mozzie bites and other
Absolutely.
people not bothered.
Yep.
Is it also like mozzies don't seem to care about me, they don't bite me, but I know a lot of people who they just go crazy for them.
Yep.
Is it like that with horses?
Yep, that's why it's called Sweet Itch, because it's only the sweet horses that get no.
Well, no wonder my horse doesn't have a
That's right.
problem. No,
But
she's
no,
sweet in her own way.
it's a true allergic reaction. You can have 10 horses and they're all getting bitten just the same, and the one that tears itself to pieces is allergic.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's an allergic reaction to the little bites.
Yep.
So what does that allergic reaction look like?
A really, really itchy horse that spends hours rubbing on something if it can, and if it can't rub on something, it rubs itself on the ground and turns over and rubs the back of its neck. I mean, it's often like mane and base of the tail, but it can be face and mane and base of the tail and then underneath as well, like underneath the neck and underneath the midline sometimes. But they're just really, really itchy, and they will self-traumatise to where they rub all their mane out and rub all their forelock out and take all the skin off their ears and take all the skin off their butt, and sit there and do the dog scratch on the ground when they're on their bum and they're scratching, sitting on their backside and up on their front end and rubbing their backside on the ground. And if they've got posts or trees and stuff to rub on, I mean, they can do a lot of damage. And it's often they're itchy for like months of the year when the midges are out. So you get leathery skin and all the secondary bacterial and fungal infections because of the self-trauma and unhealthy skin. But it's the classic no mane, no tail, less hair across the top line, which can be other conditions that looks a bit similar sometimes.
That's right.
But they're just really itchy. They're so itchy.
So I guess the reason that because like you say, there's some horses that, out of a herd of 10, you'll have one. It's just because they're the ones that are allergic.
They're the ones that are allergic. Same as flea allergy, dermatitis, a couple of fleas. Some dogs will tear all the skin off their base of their bum and that's where they itch. Horses have got that predisposition site, that's where they itch, and that isn't necessarily where they're getting bitten. It's a full body reaction. So it's not just, okay, I'll stop them getting bitten on their mane, so it fixes it. Well, it doesn't. They can get bitten anywhere, and that seems to be where the hypersensitivity reaction comes out as well.
So if you've got a really itchy horse, especially in like wet months, how do you differentiate between Queensland itch and, say, something like rain scald?
I mean, get a diagnosis.
Yeah.
And, okay, what is a diagnosis? I mean, it's hard because a lot of the time you'll have secondary bacterial and fungal infection. If they're traumatising themselves enough and it's hot and wet, that skin's more likely to have troubles. There's also like the neck worms, like onchocerca, habronema, that can sort of cause thickening of the skin and itchiness.
I think we did a podcast about that.
Absolutely. We'll link that in the show notes.
Yeah, so check that out.
So it's it's a differential definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean it depends on the severity. I mean I would never recommend not getting your vet involved.
Of course.
But I mean the neckworm, habronema, onchocerca, ivermectin based wormer, well that kills those off. I mean the midges are the problem with the hypersensitivity reaction from Queensland Itch. So it's controlling them and controlling itching as well, which often you need to get your vet involved.
So what are the treatment and management options for Queensland Itch?
Don't let your horse get bitten by midges.
That's a prevention.
That's the prevention, but it's also if you're treating them, you've got to stop that as well because you can fall them up for all sorts of drugs, but if they're still getting bitten, I can guarantee they're still going to be itchy.
Yeah, true.
So it's a combination of, we've got to stop them getting bitten.
Very true.
But also stop the itching as well. And that can be hard because, we've got options. Cortisone is the long-standing awesome thing to stop allergic reactions. Horses get laminitis and their feet fall off from cortisone sometimes. So at the advice of your vet, we've got the options of short-acting cortisone injections. There's granules like oral cortisone that you can give. There's long-acting depot, 4 to 6 to 8 weeks of cortisone that you inject, which is good and it lasts for a long time. But if you've given it, you can't take it away if your horse unfortunately develops laminitis and other complications from cortisone administration. So that's a problem.
And that's definitely a big guided by your vet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And they're all prescription medications. So, you need to get them on the advice and prescription of your vet anyway.
Absolutely.
Antihistamines, like in the veterinary world, there's a couple of registered antihistamines for horses, which are all injectable.
Yep.
And they don't last that long. Off-label use at the advice of your vet. There are human antihistamines that get used at different doses for horses because they're big animals, and that can help sometimes. It's not as profound as cortisones. You're looking at a large surface area of animal, and like you can use topical lotions and creams, and some of them are cortisone based, which have a good anti-inflammatory effect at the local level. But if you're lathering up the whole neck and the whole back and the whole butt of your horse with the cortisone cream, well, they're actually absorbing a lot of cortisone as well. And there's other, non-cortisone based creams that can help. There's treating the secondary infection, which again is probably going to be at the advice of your vet with antibiotics and antifungal stuff. And then there's the co-treatment things that you can do to make them less itchy, omega-3 oil supplements in their diets. There's some herbal supplements that can potentially help out to make for less inflammation, less allergic reaction. But a lot of time you've got to break that cycle because you've got, if you've got a mozzie bite, you itch it and it gets itchier because you're traumatising the area and you're getting histamine release. So you've got this cascade of inflammation. Sometimes you just got to stop that. And your vet can help you with that.
And so, really stopping them getting bitten it's a really big so important. So, there's all sorts of insect repellents. So would they'd be a go-to, I'd imagine? Absolutely.
So it's yes, insecticidal repellents. Applied often enough as per label recommendations to work, and some of the synthetic pyrethrin sprays like your pomoxin, I've got a quite extended period, once a week or twice a week. And they're insecticidal with a little bit of repellency. Because you want to kill the midges, but ideally you're repelling them as well. And pyrethrins have got a insecticidal and repellency effect. But some of them have got other not medications, other chemicals in there that are repellents as well. But you've usually got to apply them more frequently, like twice a day. Muscaban's got citronella in it, which has got some repellency effect as well. Trying to keep midges off, so rugging can certainly help. And that's full hooded rugs and mesh rugs.
Yep. And there's even the mesh rugs with the pyrethrin.
Yep,
in
impregnated.
It's very
yep,
cool.
Yep. So all those can help. I mean, it gets complicated because you've got an itchy horse, and you're rugging them, and they love demolishing rugs because they're trying to demolish themselves.
Yep.
So you might be putting them in a electric tape paddock so they can't access the posts, because if they've got access to a fence, they're just going to rub on the fence.
Yep.
And if they've got access to a tree, they're going to rub on the tree, and it gets complicated.
Yes.
But you're trying to minimise their points of self-trauma and keep the midges off as much as possible. And look, I've had clients that send their horse south for summer.
Wow.
I mean, that's an option. Send them to an area where there isn't midges, and it is seasonal. I mean, the last 2 seasons we've had in Queensland hasn't stopped raining for 18 months, so any of the Queensland Itch horses are pretty bad at the moment because of the seasonality of it. And a lot of them get better in winter, and then when it starts to rain and the midges breed up, it's back to rugging full time and meshing full time, and it's hard because if you're in northern Queensland or top of the territory, rugs at all, it gets uncomfortable.
It's hot,
but I mean, shade cloth rugs, ventilation, it's a catch-22. But you just, if they get bitten by midges and they're allergic to midges, they're gonna be itchy.
I'm so lucky. I've never had a horse who's had Queensland Itch, so I'm very fortunate. But with the mozzies the last 2 summers, I've been relying on Pomoxin and a nice mesh rug that goes on.
Definitely all helps.
But
it's hard because it takes so few bites to keep them itchy.
Are the midges like mozzies in that they like stagnant water? Like, is there any stuff you can do around the paddock to try and minimise them a bit like you can? But is it...
less standing water probably helps, but I think they're even more efficient than mozzies in they need even less water. So it's just, if it's wet, they're going to be around. And they cover pretty large areas, basically. But keeping... stables can help. So if you can stable your horses, on dusk and at sunrise, basically, I mean, that will minimise it. Supposedly they don't like flying in under roofs because they fly around in clouds. So if you've got a relatively low shelter that the horse can get under, and you'll see them hiding under trees and stuff sometimes just to get away from mozzies and midges. So that can help as well. But it's not going to help enough for a horse that's got Queensland Itch.
And some of the pyrethrins you can actually spray on the stable walls.
You can put them in the environment. And some of them you can put on non-impregnated rug, so it's in the rug and leave it dry there, and that's mostly off-label. But it's hard.
Oh, awful. I'm every time we talk about something itchy, I get itchy. I really feel for them. That's horrible. So I'm so sorry if your horse is going through this. I'm so sorry. Please send them my condolences.
It's bad because the self-trauma, I mean, they can rip themselves to pieces.
Oh, it's awful. The poor things. But
with the help of your vet, I mean, you can usually make them a hell of a lot more comfortable and get a treatment plan in place and then a prevention plan in place and make their health and life as good as it can be.
That's right. No, well, thanks so much, Glenn, and good luck, and good luck for the mozzie and wet season.
Keep the midges at bay.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.